Hi, with just a few weeks left for CAT 2022, now is the time to go ahead and solidify your personal exam taking strategy. With that in mind, BYJU'S Exam Prep brings to you the All India Open Mock CAT. Know exactly where you stand against thousands of CATers and get video solutions and a live mock attempt. What more? There are also thousands of scholarships up for grabs.
A very good afternoon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everyone. Right. Hi, Varun. How are you? Good to see you too, Varun. All right. All right. So, we are going to talk about verbal reasoning today. Okay, so why verbal reasoning? Because it is a very important part of your logical reasoning section in NMAT. Right. So let's have a look as to how many questions are asked from it, what all types of questions are asked, and then let's practice some questions. Okay, let's do that. All right then. So let's first see that, how many questions are asked actually from verbal reasoning. So in all, your logical reasoning section asks you 36 questions. Okay. So any guesses on the number of questions from verbal reasoning? Yes. Good afternoon, Apurva. Good afternoon. Hello, Disha. Good afternoon. All right, then let me tell you. 17 questions. So approximately half of the questions come from verbal reasoning only, right? So now that we know this, we know that it is important to practice these questions, particularly because there is a time constraint of 40 minutes. So in these 40 minutes, you have to solve these 36 questions, right? And some of the analytical reasoning questions, let's say, they might take some more time. Yes. So we need to be speedy in solving these 17 questions. And that will happen when we are acquainted with the concepts first, we know how to solve them, and then we know how to eliminate. So let's learn that. Right? 50% approximately. Absolutely correct, Mohit. Okay. So the level of difficulty is moderate. Okay, so that's what we have tried to maintain today also. It's actually easy to moderate if you ask me. You do not get very difficult critical reasoning questions in NMAT, so to say. Okay, that is reserved for that. Right? So easy to moderate verbal reasoning questions. In some years, of course, it has been more on the moderate side, and in some years, it has been more on the easy side. Okay. So this is a topic-wise breakup. Now, this is, of course, from one of the slots in NMAT 2021. Okay, so you can see 4 course of action questions, 8 critical reasoning questions. Why I have written other here is because we have separated strengthening the argument from this. Strengthening the argument you will be practicing with me. The other critical reasoning questions, inference, assumptions, advanced critical reasoning, that will happen in another session. Okay, so course of action 4 questions. Strong and weak argument 2 questions. Strengthening a given argument. See, this is different from strong and weak arguments. So again, 2 questions on this. Syllogism, majority actually, 8 questions, right? Significant chunk, I should say, not a majority. And yes, so let's practice some of these questions today. Good afternoon, Kamal Kant. Yes, so verbal reasoning in NMAT. Let's see what all types of questions we are going to solve. Course of action, strong and weak arguments, strengthening, weakening the argument, mainly strengthening the argument, and then we'll also solve these. In addition, we'll solve these 2 question types because they also might come in the exam. Last year, they did not come in this particular slot, but that does not mean that they cannot come. So we'll practice these 2 more question types also. Right? Okay, let's begin. So, our first topic for the day is course of action. When you have to take a decision or you have to decide what to do given a particular problem. That is called course of action. All right. So now, what all rules should you follow? These are actually guidelines. First of all, your ideal course of action should address the problem. Yes, it should first at least refer to the problem. It should be related to the problem. It can't be unrelated, isn't it? Okay, then don't address other problems. Tangential means those that are peripheral in nature, those that are not the main problems, but let's say a part of it, or let's say related to it, but not the actual problem, right? So don't address tangential problems, address the given problem. That is what a good logical course of action does. Okay, so always find that solution that is, of course, which logically follows, not something that is based on, let's say, your external knowledge, not something that is based on your biased opinions, your likes and dislikes, but something that is logical, that is humanly possible. That's what I mean by feasible. It should be humanly possible, right? And something that is implementable, something that you can implement. So that is a practical solution. So, for instance, to reduce the problem of air pollution, if you give a solution that we should stop all modes of transport plying on roads, that's not a practical solution, right? We can't implement that. So, our ideal, our good course of action is always a practical solution to the problem. Do not advocate for extreme steps unless the situation itself is very extreme. Unless the situation itself is very extreme. And moreover, such extreme steps are never advocated. For instance, killing a person. This does not even have an unless. This does not even have an exception. So don't advocate extreme steps such as killing a person, thrashing or beating a person, right? Uh, and take extreme steps, other extreme steps only when the situation is extreme. Otherwise, no, we take middle path solutions, right? Good afternoon, Katie. Good afternoon. Do not assume on your own that this must have happened or this must be the case. This is what usually happens, right? Usually happens, I can still understand in relation to a given problem, depending on the problem. But otherwise, this must have happened, this must have been the case. You should not make such assumptions on your own. You are just given what you are given, nothing beyond that. Just assume what you are given to be true and proceed accordingly. उसके अलावा कोई assumption नहीं लेना है. Okay, all right. Also take ethics into consideration, very, very important. Your suggested course of action should always be ethical. Yes, you cannot suggest unethical courses of action, right? So these are a few basic points that you have to keep in mind. And this is a question type that students mostly attempt correctly because it's very logical, right? And once you keep these things in mind, that you'll not take extreme steps, you'll not assume on your own, you usually sail through these questions easily. So let's have a look at how your directions are going to look like. In each question below, a statement is followed by two courses of action. Do not associate the two with each other. Look at them independently. Okay, don't think of the two being dependent on each other. They are two different courses of action, right? You have to assume everything in the given statement to be true. So whatever problem is given to you, you have to just assume that to be true. On the basis of the information given in the statement, decide which of the suggested courses of action logically follows. Okay, which one logically follows. Now, these are your options. Okay, so these options actually vary from question to question. So forget these options here. I'll give you options here. Okay, I've given you options here. Focus on these and let's have a look at our very first question. Statement. In one of the worst road accidents, 38 people died when a truck full of vegetables collided with a bus. Now, what is the course of action that logically follows? These are your options. Yes. I hope I'm not hiding any option. If and when that happens, you can tell me. All right. So option D is only 1 and 3 follow. Mohit says C. Okay. E. A. So quite diverse responses I'm getting from you. Others. What's the meaning of this word hefty? Yes, government should pay a hefty fee. Sorry, a hefty compensation. Yes. Something that's large and heavy is hefty, right? Usually used for amounts, fees, penalties, compensations. Okay. What do the others say? B. Okay. So A, B, C, E. Basically, apart from D, I've got everything. Correct, Disha. Huge. Kamal. Correct, correct, correct. Hefty means huge, large, heavy. Okay. So let's have a look as to what should be the answer. Now, the answer here is none of these. E is the answer. Let's see why. See, first of all, we do not know as to which party was at fault when the accident happened, right? So, saying that the truck driver should immediately be suspended, why not the bus driver also? It collided with a bus, right? So why not the bus driver also, in case he or she is alive? See, we are not given no that all the passengers in the bus died, right? So why just the truck driver? That's my question. Also, you should be, see, this is verbal logic. Each and every word matters. You should be conscious towards the word immediately be suspended, right? So can we do that immediately without knowing who actually was at fault? And that too just for the truck driver, right? So that's why this appears to be extreme because of the words immediately and because of being a little one-sided in talking just about the truck driver, right? Either the statement should have told us that in the 38 people who died, the bus driver also died, right? That has also not been given to us. Okay, then yes, Mohit, absolutely correct. Who knows, maybe he also died. Absolutely. That's in fact the first thing that came to my mind when I looked at it. But then anyway, one does not follow because it's extreme, right? Second, the driver of the bus should be tried in court for negligence on his part. Again, we do not know whether there was a negligence on his part or not. So we cannot recommend this. Also, treat 1 and 2 independently. Don't relate the two. Don't relate the two, okay? Don't relate any courses of action. 3. The government should pay a hefty amount, a large and heavy amount to the families of the passengers. To the families of the passengers. See, now again, this would be the case. Again, I have a problem with this word hefty, a large and heavy amount. If this has been done because of, let's say, some governmental negligence, let's say the road was not a good road, okay, the road had some potholes that had not been repaired, absolutely, then it makes a case for a hefty amount, right? Otherwise, the words that we could have chosen, there is something called an ex gratia compensation. Ex gratia compensation. Government usually gives it to victims of accidents, victims of train accidents, road accidents. And this is basically ex gratia means given out of grace, right? Basically, the government doesn't expect them to pay any interest on it or return it. It's given just out of grace. So had those words been written, I could have still considered 3. But hefty gives an impression as if the government is at fault. Again, we cannot decide this unless it is decided who is actually at fault. Okay, and without it, none of these actually follow. Okay, so none of these follow, not follows. I hope this is clear. That is the answer here. So think logically, pay attention to words such as immediately, hefty, okay, and first see whether somebody is at fault or not at fault. All right. Some immediate courses of action should be that, okay, they should be given, let's say, those who are injured. Even that is not given. In fact, yeah. So based on this, none of these follow. I don't want to give you some answers on my own. None of these follow. Right. Now, let's have a look at question number 2. Again, the same instructions, a statement. This is the statement which is followed by 3 courses of action. Tell me which one logically follows. Interesting question. If I am hiding any option, then you can let me know. These 1 and 3 follow. A, E, all right. Others? So Varun says A, Mohit says E. Let's see what the others say. B, Bangalore, okay. Disha says E, Devika A, Rowdy B, Nihar also B. All right. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. So, uh, first, let's look at this course of action. Amit should be given police protection without delay. Look at the cause that is given here. As he is a politician's son, doesn't it amount to favoritism that he should be given police protection without delay as he is a politician's son? That means, am I trying to indicate this, that if he were not a politician's son, then it would have been okay to not give him police protection? So the reason given is actually flawed here, that he should be given police protection without delay as he is a politician's son. Right. So how does it actually affect the case? How does it affect the case? That has not been given. That has been left for my assumption. Okay, is this some favoritism of some kind? Is he more in danger because he's a politician's son? What is the reason that I'm saying, because he's a politician's son, you give him more police protection? That has been left to my interpretation, and I don't have to assume on my own. One does not follow. Okay. Telephone call records to Amit's residence should be looked into. Definitely, if you have to find out who actually called him up, who is threatening him or asking him for money, you have to look into his call records. Yes. So second definitely follows. Once I know this, all these options get eliminated. I have also eliminated one. So what is the answer that's left? B, Bangalore, isn't it? So B is the answer. Good. Quite a few of you said B this time. Good. Okay. Also, 3 is very irrelevant. The politician should be called to the police station for interrogation. It's the son who has received the threats, no? So the son should be interrogated in the sense that the son should be asked more details about the call, right? The politician does not make sense. So only 2. Hope this is clear to you. All right then. Let's go to our next question type, strong and weak arguments. Okay, a topic that invites a lot of debates actually, right? So let's see what we have to stick to in strong and weak argument questions. The questions that you need to ask yourself while solving these questions, while solving these, yes, strong weak argument questions are, whatever, see, basically a problem or a statement is given to you. Okay. Should, for instance, just giving an example, should smoking in offices be banned? Let's say this is the problem, right? And then usually 2-3 arguments will be given to you, right? One of them could say yes, it should be banned, and then it gives a reason, right? One of them says no, it should not be banned, and then it will say something after that. So these are your arguments. These are your arguments, right? Now, first thing that you have to check is this argument addressing the question? Is it related to smoking? Is it related to a ban on smoking? And is it related to offices or not? Right? So it has to be related to the question, just like a course of action, a good course of action. So till here, it's very similar to what we were looking at in a course of action, कि वो related होना चाहिए. ठीक है? Is it a relevant and important concern? Is it a relevant and important argument? Right? Abhinay, for CAT preparation, this will be indirectly useful to you. Why? Because in your RC passages, sometimes you do get questions that involve logical reasoning, right? So in your RC passages, you get questions like, which of the following strengthens the author's central argument in the passage? So there the concepts of strengthening the argument will be involved. So you do get logical structure questions or CR based questions in your RC passages. That's how it will help you. Okay. They emphasized on GMAT level CR, but in the past I haven't really seen GMAT level CR in NMAT. GMAT level CR, the difficult level can be really difficult. So I would say that based on previous year trends, you can practice GMAT ka easy level or at the most moderate level CR, right? Okay. So I was saying that is it giving an important solution, or is it an important concern? Is it an important argument, or is it saying something very trivial? Is it saying something very trivial? So, for instance, if I say, should the government shift to a flat tax rate system instead of a slab rate system that we currently have? And one of the arguments is, yes, this will save the paperwork of government officials. Is this a major concern in deciding whether we should shift the tax regime or not? No, right? It's a very trivial concern. So it should present an important and relevant concern. And of course, it has to support your yes or your no. When you say yes, it has to support your yes. When you say no, it has to support your no. Right? So it's not like आपने yes कह के छोड़ दिया. आपने yes कह के कहा yes, yes, this is the best solution. Ban it. But then you don't say why it is the best solution. You get it? So in that case, it becomes very vague. It becomes very opinionated, and strong arguments are never opinionated. Somebody's personal opinion, bias, like, dislike, they are never vague. You don't have to assume a lot in a strong argument, right? You don't have to assume actually. So these are the things that you evaluate when you solve these questions. And at the end, if let's say you are confused, just keep one thing in mind, that a strong argument will always be hard to refute. A logically sound argument, a strong argument, will always be hard to refute. You will have a hard time thinking that, okay, no, this is not strong. It will always be hard to challenge, to refute. Okay, so that's the ultimate check that I apply. Am I having a lot of difficulty in refuting this? Then yes, probably this is a strong argument. Okay, let's see. Question 3. Good noon, Vicky. So tell me what should come in question 3. D is neither argument is strong. Neither argument is strong. In case all right, so I have hidden myself. Now you just hear me as this omnipresent, omnipotent voice. Right. So B is what you say. Others? All right, all right. Only argument 2 is strong. That's what I'm getting. Do we agree? Others? All right, let's see. Absolutely correct. Only argument 2 is strong here. Okay, so I'm back. Now, why is only argument 2 strong? Because look at the first one. It says, yes, it's the best choice to prevent air pollution. Why? Why is it the best choice? Why is this the best choice to prevent air pollution? To make driving electric, basically taking electric cars when going to office or when traveling to and fro by office, to and fro from office. So that has not been explained. Just saying that it is the best choice, that's an opinionated statement. No, you have to back your opinion with a reason, right? So this is not a strong argument. It does not give us any reason. It leaves a lot for me to assume. Whereas this very clearly states that driving electric cars to office is impractical, as most places in the city do not have facilities to charge the batteries of electric cars. And this is a very important concern, no? Right? It's an important concern. So only argument 2 is strong. I hope this makes sense. This is not strictly, it does not come strictly under critical reasoning. In critical reasoning, no, we take a full-fledged argument. Okay, so there we look at an argument and then we see how we can strengthen this argument, how we can make it stronger, how we can attack this argument. What can we conclude from this information that is given to us? or what can we infer from this? Then what are the assumptions that the speaker of this argument must have taken? So this is referred to as critical reasoning. Okay, we will look at a strengthening weakening question also very shortly. Okay, all right, Vicky, I'll do that. I'll do that for effect from the next question. Okay. Okay, so question number 4. Let's see what the answer for this one should be. Again, strong weak argument question. Let's see what you say. Okay. Disha and Mohit say B. Kirti also says B. Okay. Varun, Nihar, Blur, Messi. Okay. Varun and Nihar say E. Then Blur, Messi, Ekta B. Vicky B. All right. All right. All right. So, what did I tell you? That a strong argument is hard to refute. Okay, I'm back. So let's have a look. Now, if you look at this, yes, parents have paid the fees. Is that a reason enough for parents to actually sue the students, to basically sue the school's authorities? Not a reason enough, just because they've paid the fees. So this does not seem to address the problem at all, the bad results of the students. Eliminated. Then second argument, no, authorities are responsible for maintaining infrastructure only. See this. I know, see, we don't argue with an argument as such unless it defies our common knowledge. So, isn't this common knowledge? See, I'm not using my, what do I say? I'm not using any current affairs here, any big facts here, but are the school authorities responsible for maintaining infrastructure only? Isn't this common knowledge that they have more responsibilities? So, this is something that defies common knowledge, not my current affair GK ka big knowledge. Right? So, that is why argument 2 is weak. And that's why our answer here is neither argument is strong, B Bangalore. Okay, hope this makes sense. So, B Bangalore is the answer here. All right. Now, this was about strong and weak arguments. Let's have a look at strengthening or weakening the argument. Now, an argument will be given to you. You have to either strengthen it or weaken it. Right? So, let's take an example argument here before I tell you how to strengthen or weaken an argument. Right? Ek example lete hain. So, a very basic example that I like to take with students because it's something that they very intuitively understand is that Riya scored the highest marks in her class. Therefore, she can be called intelligent. Right. So now, if you look at this, I am concluding something here on the basis of this given fact. So what I conclude in logic, that is called conclusion. The reason for this in logic is called a premise. So in critical reasoning, we deal with these two types of statements, premises, conclusions. Collectively, this set of conclusion based on one or more premises is called an argument. So this is an argument that I've made that, Riya scored the highest marks in her class, therefore she can be called intelligent. This is my argument. Now, okay. Yes. Thank you, Ekta, thank you. Now, how do I, let's say I ask you that the author has given this argument. Now you have to strengthen the author's argument. You have to strengthen the author's argument. By what all means can you do it? By what all means can this be done? So there is a premise here. This is the premise. It is leading to a certain conclusion. It is leading to a certain conclusion. But do you see that the premise is about marks, whereas the conclusion is about intelligence? That means there must have been something in the mind of the author, which he or she hasn't explicitly told us, based on which she related marks with intelligence. Yes, there must have been something in the mind of the author because of which they could relate marks with intelligence. So, what must have been that thing? What must they have thought about marks and intelligence? Yes, I think my pen could be my wand. Yes, it is my magic wand in a way. Tell me, this person thinks that there is some relationship between marks and intelligence. So basically, the author thinks that you can say that there is a direct relationship between marks and intelligence, or marks are an indicator of a person's intelligence. Marks of a person are an indicator of a person's intelligence. Yes? No, it's the other way around. Disha, it's the other way around. You've inverted the relationship. It's not that intelligent students tend to score more marks. Students who score more marks tend to be intelligent. Right? So the assumption of the author, there is an assumption that has been made here. What are assumptions? Your hidden premises. Your hidden premises. Those premises that the author hasn't given to us explicitly, stated to us explicitly, but which are necessary actually, which are necessary to arrive at the conclusion. So here a very necessary hidden premise is that marks of a person are an indicator of his or her intelligence. Right? So now that we have understood what an argument actually is, this is what an argument looks like. One or more premises leading to a conclusion, and there being certain hidden premises or underlying assumptions that help us to reach from the premise to the conclusion. ठीक है? So अगर मुझे इसको strengthen करना है, इसको और strong बनाना है, right? Aptitude is being tested, not necessarily. It may not be a test of aptitude, it could simply be a test of knowledge. Okay, Vicky? Not necessary. So, अब मुझे बताओ, अगर इसको strengthen करना है, if I have to strengthen this argument, then what all can I do? This is an argument with elements as premises, assumptions, and conclusion. I can add more premises. Yes, I can add more premises here because they are the ones that lead to the conclusion. They help, they support the conclusion, right? So I can add more premises. That's one way. Add more premises that support the conclusion. Okay, those premises that support the conclusion. Okay. Or right now, this is the author's assumption. This is a hidden premise. Why don't we explicitly state it? Why don't we explicitly say this, that yes, a person's marks are actually an indicator of that person's intelligence? If I explicitly state it as a fact, then this argument becomes very strong. Then to Riya can definitely be called intelligent. Yes? So explicitly state the assumption. Explicitly state the assumption of the author. Assumptions are always of the author. हमारी नहीं होती. Author की होती, author of the argument. Okay, so this is how we strengthen an argument. Okay, now let's have a look at a question wherein, so wait, we have to weaken here now. So let's learn weaken also. Weaken is just the opposite. It is just the opposite. How do we attack the author's argument? You know, add premises, say something, bring some piece of information that attacks the conclusion. So add premises that attack the conclusion. That's what you can do. Right? So for instance, if I say Ria scored the highest marks in her class, but recently it was proven in a study that intelligence is determined not just by marks but also by factors such as one's extracurricular abilities or one's emotional intelligence, etc. Right? So the moment you bring those additional factors, such as by saying that intelligence is also a product of, or intelligence is mainly a product of, this is a very good way to actually weaken it. If I say intelligence is mainly a product of one's co-curricular abilities and not really what he or she is doing in academics, if I say that, then the conclusion stands attacked, the conclusion stands weakened. Yes, so this is one way. Add premises that attack the conclusion. Or, now this is see, assumptions are hidden premises. Why don't you explicitly say something that goes against the assumption? Explicitly state the opposite of assumption. सीधा सीधा बोल दो, marks are not an indicator of a person's intelligence. Yes, marks are not an indicator of a person's intelligence. So the moment you say this, that marks are not an indicator, this collapses right away. So when you state the opposite of assumptions, argument collapses. I hope this is clear. Okay. If you just say this, that famous scientists were never rank holders, Mohit, you are not clarifying this here that you consider those famous scientists intelligent. It has to be the additional premises that we bring, they have to be related to intelligence. If you say famous scientists, so हमें कैसे पता वो intelligent है नहीं है? Like they are just famous. You get it? So this one appears to be a little tangential. All right. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and now we can actually attempt the question. See, this is what I had written exactly on the previous slide. I just rewrote it for you. Okay, ways to strengthen, ways to weaken. Let's come to our question. So this is the statement here. People who take antibiotics regularly are in danger of developing antibiotic resistance. Why? What is the premise? They can give rise to antibiotic resistant bacteria. So this is the premise. On the basis of this, this is the conclusion that has been drawn. You have to weaken this statement. You have to weaken you have to find out which of the following weakens it the most. Right? Always eliminate in such questions. Always eliminate. Yes. Let's see what you say. Varun says A. Nihar E. Vicky C. All right. Disha C. Mohit also C. Okay. Ekta C. Okay. So quite a few of us say C. Absolutely correct. C is indeed the answer. Now why C? Let's have a look. First of all, A gives a rural-urban comparison and it says that rural areas use traditional medicines. How do I know that those traditional medicines do not have any antibiotics? Do I know this? That traditional medicines do not make use of any antibiotics? I don't, right? So because I don't know this, I cannot say that it is weakening the argument. It is attacking the argument. What if the rural medicines also have antibiotics? Then it will not really weaken the argument. Right? Okay. Then just a second, I have to weaken it, right? So I have to say that no, antibiotic resistance is not developed. Okay, when you take antibiotics. So if you say that they use traditional medicines and even if they do not have okay, in any case this is not weakening the argument, my bad. In any case, this will not weaken the argument. Even if you have assumed that traditional medicines do not have antibiotics, then in a way you are supporting the argument by saying that see, urban medicines में तो antibiotics हैं, तो वहाँ के लोग antibiotic resistance develop कर रहे हैं, और देखो रूरल एरियाज में नहीं है तो वो नहीं कर रहे हैं. So in a way you are supporting the argument even if you assumed this, that traditional medicines do not have antibiotics. ठीक है? So in any case ये weaken तो कर ही नहीं रही है. Okay. Then B says doctors are in the habit of over prescribing antibiotics. How does that help in attacking this argument? It's not about how much, whether they're over prescribing, when the patient needed it, when the patient did not need it. It's about taking it regularly for whatever reason. Okay. See, yes. Why is it weakening? Because it shows that, a lot of livestock is consuming it on a regular basis. And why are they consuming it? To improve their growth and immunity. That means they are not developing any antibiotic resistance. Okay. In fact, their immunity is being improved because of antibiotics. Right. So there is no antibiotic resistant bacteria that is being developed in the bodies of various livestock. So that shows that probably they do not have any harmful effects as such. And that's why C is our best bet out of the given option. Right? I hope this makes sense. This is again supporting the argument. It is strengthening the argument and not weakening it. ठीक है? Clear to everybody? If there's any query, you can always ask me, right? Critical reasoning is one such area where you can have a confusion. It is okay to be confused here. All right. Let's have a look at this. Districts with the largest number of television sets and internet connections per capita have the lowest incidence of cerebral malaria. Which of the following options, if true, would most strengthen the researcher's conclusion? Tell me. All right. Let's do this one, Vicky. Then I'll explain that again. Okay. So question 6. What do you say? All right. Disha says B. Others, I want more responses here. All right. Others. B. Okay. Maybe B. All right. All right. So I've got an overwhelming response. Okay. And overwhelming number of people saying B. Right. Let's have a look whether that is the answer or not. Absolutely. This is the answer because this indicates that because these people stay at home, they are not going out, that translates to less exposure to mosquito bites. Less exposure to mosquito bites. And that is how there is a low incidence of cerebral malaria in these people. Right? So I have plugged in some missing information here that okay, these people are spending more time at home. So that can explain why they have a low incidence of cerebral malaria. They are not going out. They have less exposure to mosquitoes. Right? Good. So B is the answer here. All right. I hope this is clear to everyone. Just a second. Let me see your messages. B. All right. Okay. Good. Now, statement, assumption, conclusion. This is actually very related to what we have done. Okay, it is critical reasoning only, just that now we will be looking at them in parts. So you will be given a statement and you will be asked what assumptions are implicit in this statement. Which assumptions are implicit in this statement? So statement assumption and statement conclusion, these are two different topics. Okay, statement assumption and statement conclusion. Let's have a look at them. So for instance, here sometimes your question even defines what an assumption is, right? It says that an assumption is something that is supposed or taken for granted. For instance, our author in our previous argument had taken this for granted, that a person's marks are an indicator of his or her intelligence, right? You have to consider the statement and decide which of the assumptions is implicit in the statement. What is it that has been taken for granted to be able to make this statement? So it is supposed or taken for granted, and it is necessary for the statement to hold. For the statement to hold, basically to be true, to exist, right? Otherwise the statement will collapse. These are your options. Okay, however, I'll repeat the options later on, so you need not worry. No, they have not been repeated this time. Okay, so these are your options. Only assumption 1, only 2, neither, both, either. Okay, I'll explain what either is. First, let's have a look at this question. Question number 7. Yes. What do you say? All right. What do you say? Okay, B Bangalore. Only 2. All right, all right. Others? That's it. Okay. So shortfall in revenue collections will lead to a decrease in fiscal deficit. Is it? If your what is deficit? See, let's say you do not know what fiscal deficit is when you attempt this question. But if I am in deficit, that means my expenditure is greater than my revenue. My expenditure is greater than my revenue. Right? Now, you would want your deficit to be less, right? You would never want your deficit to be more. So when I say the target of a fiscal deficit of 5% of GDP could not be met. Okay, so deficit negative cheese hai, right? You will try to control it. And when we say that target could not be met, that means it overshot it. Probably it was 6%, probably it was 7% of the GDP. You get it? The deficit is higher. Why? Because of a major shortfall in revenue collections. Because revenue collections come over. So shortfall in revenue collections lead to a decrease in fiscal deficit. No, it leads to an increase in fiscal deficit. Only assumption 1 is implicit. Okay. So a good question, this one. All right. And fiscal deficit is government expenditure minus government revenue, which is primarily taxes and other receipts. Okay. So this one, question number 8. Again, these are your options. Okay. Now, what is either 1 or 2? Either assumption 1 or assumption 2. This is a very rare scenario. Either or means that individually neither assumption is true. Individually neither is true. But they are dependent on each other. Meaning that if I am already told that one is not implicit, then probably 2 can be implicit. Okay, let's say there can be only two reasons. There can be only two reasons behind triggering an action. Behind triggering an action. So let's take an example. If I say that I made, I make, so if I have to take give reasons, okay, I drank water, and but then I have to assume that there can be only two possible scenarios. So if I say this, right, that I am angry right now. I usually get angry when either students don't listen to me or they talk back, right? Or they talk back. So right now I am angry. So that means if let's say I tell you that okay, students were listening to me, that means the other is the reason behind my getting angry. Or if let's say they did not talk back, that means they were not listening. Now you see there are only two possible reasons behind it. So individually either of them could be the reason behind my getting angry. But if I tell you explicitly that there are just two possible reasons, okay, so then if one has not happened, then second has definitely happened. So this is how either or options work, right? This is how either or options work. All right, coming to our next question here. So first one I hope is clear now. Statement says the government has decided to run all commercial vehicles only on biofuels. Okay, why? In order to save the depleting fossil fuel reserves. So what are the assumptions? Yes. Yes. It works with with the syllogism logic only. Okay, precisely logical consistency. वही वाला logic है either or. Okay. Others, what do you say? Both. Okay. So Vicky says both. The Mohit says both. Disha also says both. All right. That's it. 3 responses. Come on. We're left with just 3 more questions. I want your participation. One only. Okay. Vikash says one only. Nimisha says both are implicit. All right. Good. Vikash, yours is the correct answer. Absolutely correct. Only one is implicit. See this. Of course, it is possible to switch from fossil fuel to biofuel. That is why the government is saying that we will use biofuels from now on for all commercial vehicles. If it were not possible at all, a very good way to check whether an assumption is implicit or not, you state the opposite of it. If let's say it were not possible, in that case would the government be able to make this statement or take this decision? No. So this one is implicit. But second says sufficient amount of biofuel can be produced in the country to run all commercial vehicles. Is it necessary for it to be produced in the country? No. We could import it from outside. We want to save our fossil fuel reserves. For that, we may be ready to import also biofuels. So this is something that is not necessary. Assumptions are those statements that are necessary for the argument, for the statement to hold true. Absolutely correct, Vikas. Right? So only one is implicit here. Hope this makes sense. All right. Coming to question 9. Now this is a statement conclusion question. Now we have come to conclusion. So conclusion, these are more straightforward questions. Here you don't have to enter the mind of the author and think what he or she must have supposed or taken for granted. Here you just have to read the piece of information that is given to you and see what can be said to be true on the basis of what is given to us. That's it, right? So let's have a look at this. The new mental health policy is a bipartisan issue and can reduce the risk of another mass shooting like Uade, but I don't know what is the how to pronounce this. Okay, so basically it can reduce the risk of another mass shooting like the one that happened in this region perhaps. Right? So tell me what the answer should be. All right. B Bangalore, okay. Disha also says B Bangalore, only two follows, okay. Others, B, okay. So far I've got 4 Bs. Any other option that comes to your mind? Okay, so now here actually, this becomes a matter of vocabulary. Sometimes that may happen in your verbal logic questions. Bipartisan means something that has the support or cooperation or agreement of both the major parties. Okay, some issue that has the cooperation or agreement of both the major parties is called a bipartisan measure, a bipartisan issue. So by definition itself, by looking at the meaning of bipartisan, we can say that yes, the policy has the support of both the major parties, right? So this is a previous year question actually. So bipartisan, something that has the support of both the major parties by its very definition. And yes, mass shootings may not be eliminated entirely even after the policy. This can be inferred because we are talking about reducing the risk. We are talking about reducing the risk of another mass shooting, right? So both the conclusions follow here. C is the answer. It is a conclusion. It is a conclusion. See, it's a conclusion question, no? So if I say that it is a bipartisan issue, then that means that it has the support of both the major parties by its very definition. So it is true on the basis of what you have read. All right. Yes, for the root by, for the prefix by, bipartisan, something that enjoys the support of both the parties. This is actually a CAT previous year question. This one. Okay, then let's have a look at our topic cause and effect, right? Although this did not appear last year in the slot that I just showed you, however, we should do it because it can appear, right? And these are very easy questions, scoring questions. So what will happen here is two statements will be given to you, right? And you have to, of course, read both of them. A very good trick is that you add therefore before both the statements. Okay, add therefore one by one and see in which case it makes sense. If it does not make sense in either case, then these are independent effects. If adding a therefore to either of these does not actually the two statements still do not make sense, that means these are independent effects. Okay, sometimes I feel I want to say a lot in a very short span of time. So तब वो इंडिपेंडेंट इफेक्ट्स हो जाएंगे. अदरवाइज इफ लेट्स से ए में देयरफॉर लगाने से it appears that yes, okay, B is the cause and A is the effect, then you found your answer. Similarly, अगर B में therefore लगाने से you understand that okay, yes, now it makes sense. A is the cause, B is the effect, then that will be the answer. So A is the cause, B is the effect. If there is actually a logical cause and effect relationship, then only you will say yes, A is the cause, B is the effect. Just being related is not enough. There has to be a cause effect relationship. What does that mean? That one is a logically plausible reason for the other to happen. One is a logically possible or plausible reason for the other to happen. Right? And it's not, see, some students think that it has to be something that is necessary for the effect to take place. For example, if you are given two statements, one says that air pollution in Delhi has increased, and the other says people of Delhi have started using bicycles for shorter distances, right? People have started using bicycles for shorter distances. Now, some students say, they could be using bicycles for health reasons, not necessarily air pollution. You are right. It's not necessary that air pollution is the reason. But is it a logically plausible reason behind people using bicycles or eco-friendly vehicles for shorter distances? Yes. As long as it is logically plausible, it is a cause and B is the effect. Overthink नहीं करना है इसमें इतना भी ज़्यादा that it has to be necessary only. Right? Okay. Let's have a look. So, uh, two statements are given to us. A says, many people have been injured in road rage in the past 1 year in Delhi. B. The Supreme Court has decided to ban SUVs on roads from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Look at the options. Tell me what should be the answer. Our second last question. Let's see what you say. Vicky says E. Okay. A, all right. C, okay. D, A. It's road rage, not road accidents. I hope you've read A carefully. It is road rage. It's not road accidents. So, they are independent. They're effects of independent causes. Effects of independent causes means independent effects only. It's just a fancy way of writing it. They're not related to each other, are they? Because see, in one we're talking about road rage, not road accidents as such. In the other, a particular type of vehicle is being banned and that too at night. Why? How does it relate to road rage incidents? Do they happen only during the night time and not during the daytime? Are only SUV owners responsible for them? So you see that road rage is not related to banning a particular vehicle and that too at a particular time. All right. So these are effects of independent causes. They do not share a cause effect relationship because road rage is not road accidents. Also, this assumes even if it were road accidents, we are assuming that SUVs themselves are responsible and road accidents happen at night only. So no cause effect relationship. When you have to think so much, that means there is no cause effect relationship. Right? D, Delhi is the answer here. Okay. Coming to our last question for the day, we are given two options, statements. Bengaluru's municipal corporation has decided to provide free housing to the people below poverty line. Bengaluru has seen a sharp increase in the number of immigrants. Let's see. What do you say? Okay. Nimisha says A, Mohit A, Kirti A, Mrinal A. Okay. A maybe, but skeptical. Okay. Why skeptical about it, Vicky? If the municipal corporation of a place has decided to provide free housing to the people below poverty line, can it not be the reason for a sharp increase? For a sharp increase in people coming to this place from other cities also. It can be a logically possible reason. I understand that there can be an increase in the number of immigrants for other reasons also. Probably they are coming because of work, right? However, this is also a big enough incentive. Free house. So this can be a logically plausible reason. And if it is a logically plausible reason, then our answer is A. A is the cause. See, if you add therefore here, it makes sense. The two make sense that because the government has announced this free housing scheme, therefore there has been a sharp increase in the number of immigrants. Okay, it's not even a gradual increase. So A is the answer. I hope this makes sense. Yes, absolutely. I also put myself in the place of the people below poverty line and I thought that yes, I would have also done this. It's a very big incentive, right? So A. All right. So this was about some question types that we did today. Now, of course, what you should do later on is that your fundamentals should be clear, your basics should be clear. Practice is the key. Practice as many questions and verbal reasoning as you can lay hands on, particularly from the NMAT official guide. Do not apply external knowledge or your own opinions while solving these questions. Apply just logic, no knowledge unless it is common knowledge. बहुत ही common सी चीज है, right? And do not assume unnecessarily. We don't have to, if we have to make a lot of assumptions, that means the option that we are given is probably not very logically sound, right? So just keep these things in mind and you'll do well in verbal reasoning. And yes, Mohit, please ask away. And yes, I hope you're aware of this All India Open, about this All India Open mock, and it will go live from this date to this date, but you can register even now. So do register and take this mock and see where you stand. Also, we are planning to have this series, CAT 2022 IIM Bangalore PYQP, that is previous year question paper series. We'll solve question papers of 2007 and 16 and see what kind of paper IIM Bangalore sets. Okay, and accordingly try to gauge the difficulty level perhaps. This will start from October 1. Okay, so don't forget to join that PYQP series as well as do join us for the NMAT analysis. I'm sure a lot of you will be writing NMAT towards the end of October, right? So this will actually help you to see कैसा paper आ रहा है, कैसे कैसे question types आ रहे हैं, right? It will help you to understand that even before you take your attempt. So do join us. Okay. In that call question, it may be possible that the call is on his personal number. Just a second. So politician's son's personal number, right? Acha, you are saying that we should look at, what does it say, that his call records, that is what is stated now. Politician wale question mein, let's, okay, it was I think in the very beginning. Just a second. Telephone call records to Amit's residence. Okay, requested after he received the call from unidentified persons. Call records to Amit's residence should be looked into. You are right that it could have been made on his personal number. Still, I would still mark 2 in the exam. Okay, I would still mark 2 in the exam because this does not appear like, see, even if let's say the call has been made to his personal number, but we can always check who all know or basically have dealings with Amit or his father, right? So even the telephone records to his residence or that made to him, to his father, they can all be checked, right? So it does not still appear very irrelevant, even if I assume that, right? So while we have not been given anything, whether it was made to his residence or to him personally, even if I assume either of the two, then also 2 still tries to address the problem. Whereas 1 and 3, they don't have their reasons in the right place. right? Also, why interrogate? Interrogation is you cross-examine, you ask questions. So 3 does not make sense at all in any circumstance. 1 does not make sense at all. 2 still makes sense whether the call was made at his personal number, at his residence. Okay, we can still check the telephone records to find some clue, right? So that's why I would still mark B in the exam. Okay, now let's come to another query that we had. Just a second. This question, right? People who take antibiotics regularly are in danger of developing antibiotic resistance, as they can give rise to antibiotic resistant bacteria. Okay. Now C says most livestock farmers add antibiotics to livestock feed to improve their growth and immunity on a regular basis. I understand your objection, Vicky, that these are humans and these are animals. This is livestock that we are talking about. Okay. However, see, if I have to look at, look among the options, I'm left with C or none of the above is true, right? And if you look at C, it is addressing the issue of antibiotics, consuming antibiotics affecting a person's resistance or basically an organism's resistance. So it is addressing the reasoning at hand. जो reasoning involved है कि antibiotic resistant bacteria develop हो जाते हैं. Also, it does not specifically say that this happens in humans. It just says as they can give, antibiotics can give rise to antibiotic resistant bacteria. So अगर antibiotics give rise कर रही हैं, so isn't it possible that it happens across organisms? Unless I am given that animals have some special type of resistance to it. I absolutely understand your objection, and it actually can be a good way to weaken this particular assertion. You know, you can actually make this objection. It's not a very good way to. बहुत अच्छी option नहीं है ये, but it is still following the same lines of reasoning as my original argument does. Okay, and because it has not been given that they give rise to antibiotic resistant bacteria in humans only, that's why it can still be accepted, right? Okay. All right. So good that you noticed it. Okay. All right. Good. So good that you asked your queries. All the best for your prep. And yes, do attend the NMAT analysis. Do attend the IIM Bangalore PYQP series. I will see you next time. I'll see you tomorrow itself from 12 to 1. We meet Tuesday to Saturday, 12 to 1 over our YouTube channel, BYJU'S Exam Prep MBA. You can follow us on social media platforms. You can even follow us. You can join this Telegram channel. Okay. Thank you for attending. Bye-bye. Hi, Snehil. Bye, Snehil. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye. Okay. So that was my bad. That was my bad. ठीक है? All right.